intention at the point of attention. This is not what I wanted to be doing tonight. And this transmission, if it's for anyone, is in all probability and likelihood for a vanishingly small number of people. Maybe one, maybe zero. I am about to transmit a message, call it an idea if you like, that at one point, I think it must have been 6-7 years ago by now, I once devoted, several dozen hours elaborating in very great detail, laying out what I am about to distill into a very short transmission indeed. At that time, I did it on a YouTube channel that I subsequently, after uploading dozens and dozens of hours of talks on this, I took it down. And I won't get into the reasons why. Just I did. One night, I had reasons and I took it down. I still have the video talks somewhere. But anyway, I'm just going to get right to the point here. So I'm calling this intention at the point of attention. And okay, maybe here's a good place to start. There's a quote from, this just crossed my path just a few moments ago as I was sort of mentally making mental notes, collecting my thoughts, trying to put all this back together. I came across this article called "Tenderness Shares a Root with Attention." And now I will just, I will call your attention to this little graphic. In English, it's something that you pay. In Spanish, it's something that you lend. In French, it's something that you do. Yeah, those French. Never know about those French. In German, it's something you gift. Yeah. I think the French are kind of out to lunch on this one, but pay and gift. I think English and German are the most trenchant. You see, words like people have lineages, and the lineages of words are called their etymologies, and there's great wisdom and insight to be gleaned from looking at the etymologies of words, their histories, and where they come from. I just want to quote this article right here. This cannot be overstated. Attention is a desirable asset. As it's increasingly wanted by billionaire corporations, some would argue that it's the most sought-after thing a human can offer. That's enough. Roll that through your mind for a second. Okay? And think about things like the Super Bowl halftime. And think about things like, well, damn near everything nowadays, especially. Think of all the money that is paid for something else that is paid, and that is the attention of human beings. Must be pretty important. To very powerful interests, to put it mildly. Attention. Let's look at something called the Pareto distribution. I'm going to start with the Pareto distribution. If you don't know what the Pareto distribution is, I'll just read through some of this first paragraph in the Wikipedia article. The Pareto distribution, named after the Italian civil engineer, economist, and sociologist Vilfredo Pareto, is a power law probability distribution that is used in description of social, quality control, scientific, geophysical, actuarial, and many other types of observable phenomena. The principle originally applied to describing the distribution of wealth in a society, fitting the trend that a large portion of wealth is held by a small fraction of the population. The Pareto principle, or 80-20 rule, stating that 80% of outcomes are due to 20% of causes, was named in honor of Pareto. That's enough. The Pareto principle is as perfluent an aspect of the human world as the Fibonacci sequence is to the natural world at large. And I would venture to suggest that the Pareto principle, or the Pareto, the 80-20 rule, extends also to the realm of human, the attention of human beings. Every human being on this planet has attention that can be paid. However, just as and every person on the planet has, to varying degrees, skills and abilities and talents, proclivities, and of course, there's vast inequality of these things among individual members of our species. And the same is true of attention, both in terms of its amount and in terms of its quality. I could also use the word depth, but I would prefer to use that word for another word that we're going to talk about, which is intention. I'm going to talk about the quality of attention. And here I'm going to suggest that I'm going to point out the fact that every year, let's just say, although it's kind of meaningless, let's just using shorthand here, okay? Trillions of dollars are spent every year commandeering people's attention. And one might even venture to say, hijacking people's attention. Waylaying people's attention. Neutering people's attention. And our current scientific paradigm, our materialist, reductionist, the mind is nothing but an epiphenomenon of the brain, an illusion that arises from neurochemical processes and interactions. Your mind is just a light that goes out when the light bulb stops working. It's a cult. It's a mind control cult. And all of modern civilization, virtually all of modern civilization, is permeated with that idea. This is how human beings are conditioned to think. So we have this idea that we're just puny little particles walled off from one another. And our thoughts are just things that happen in our skulls. When in fact we are all antennas. Capable of receiving and transmitting. Antennas do both, just as speakers are capable of being microphones and vice versa. We're all antennas, constantly transmitting and receiving. Some people are sensitive enough to figure this out over time. Some people are sensitive enough to figure it out, but they can't get past the programming and the conditioning. And some people are really super sensitive to it, but they can't reconcile it with the conditioning and the programming, and so they go insane. You see? And then the power structure is right there with all kinds of labels and evaluations and diagnoses and treatments, right? So, okay, if I'm coming off to you as a raving tinfoil hat nut job, okay, move along. I really don't care. There's only one possible viewer of this where I would care. But even then, this is the message. It is what it is. I put it out at some personal expense, and I didn't really want to do it, but I do what I'm told. So our attention is a very great commodity, and I would go beyond that and say that you could even consider it to be a type of resource. Now, and the Pareto distribution would indicate that, just like anything else, the amount and the quality of attention varies widely amongst the individual members of the human population. And I should also briefly address this thing about outcomes and causes. Again, we're all antennas. I want to put this as succinctly as I can. I am not much of a prayer. Never have been. Never saw the point. It's not that I am not prayerful. I am. I just don't recite prayers. I don't do this thing with words. But prayers can and do work. Prayers can be and are effective. As is the case with meditation. Thousands and thousands of people get together and meditate. They apply their intention at the point of attention together in a concerted effort in a particular locality, let's say a city, and every time they do this, the crime rates go down and other things happen. So here's the point. It's also built into our conditioning and programming that in order to manifest change in the world, in the materium, the material physical universe, which is not just a material physical universe, but okay, that you have to act and implement change physically with your physical body and with words. That, okay, you have to make the air vibrate. You have to set atoms in motion. This is not the case. It is, but it isn't. It's not always the case. Let's put it that way. You need to pay some bills? Yeah, you got to go pay the bills. Okay, you can't just set intentions to pay bills. Okay, I'm not making any kind of claims like that. This is not like The Secret or any like bogus new age shit that I'm talking about. All right. If you can just entertain the idea that outcomes, manifestations in our world, some of them are not the result of moving and rearranging atoms. I think that's the most elegant way that I can put it. All right, so the more people's attention is polluted and blunted and dulled and perverted and inverted and waylaid and hijacked and commodified and bought and sold, the more dismal the outcome for our species collectively. Okay? And so just look around. Just look around. Look at YouTube culture. Think about that algorithm. Think about the culture think about the behavior that it encourages. All the soy faces in the thumbnails. That's some deep, deep doo-doo right there, man. And hoodoo, deep hoodoo. The soy face thing, that's straight from chimpanzees and even earlier primates, man. The soy face is a look of submission and terror, is what that is. The soy face is the equivalent of the weak wolf rolling over on its back and exposing its neck for the alpha wolf. That's what that is. It's even deeper than that. It's even worse than that. And that's what the algorithm engenders. Let's talk about the etymology of attention. I'm doing a terrible job of this, by the way, but I'm doing the best I can. And I don't mean to be like I hate it. I hate if this is coming off like I am being pedantic or anything like that. I'm really not trying to be pedantic. I'm trying to convey something precise, but it's difficult. And maybe you already know all this, someone who's listening. And if you do, then forgive me for being presumptuous. But anyway. All right. Attention. First, let's talk about the Latin root verb tendere. It means to extend, to stretch, to extend. Okay, here it is. To stretch out, to extend, to aim, to direct. And if you look at the etymology of the verb tension, it comes from the same root. The act or process of stretching something tight. The condition of being stretched, tautness, tension. Attention. Awareness. This is what all meditation is really all about. There's nothing mysterious about it. It's just practicing attention. A lot of meditation practices are just purely focused on attention without intention. When we get into intention is where things get dangerous. That's where we spin off into things like magic, which is very dangerous indeed. All right, I'm really going to clamp down on myself now. I need to get down to the brass tacks here. Social media hijacks attention, and it degrades the quality of attention. It destroys. It doesn't destroy attention. It degrades attention. It robs people of their attention. Again, we pay attention. What are we paying for? Normally you pay, and the other thing you pay is money. You spend time, right? You pay money. What are you paying for? You want to get what you paid for, right? When you pay attention, when people pay so much attention to, let's just go back to the algorithm and watching endless videos on different ways to please the almighty algorithm. And then we're going to get to intention. Okay, so then there comes a point where people's attention is not their own anymore. And they're squandering it, and they're paying it, and what they're getting in return is not only bad for themselves, it's bad for our kind as a whole. I don't really care. I don't hold us in very high esteem right now. And if a gigantic meteorite or whatever comet slammed into the planet and just wiped us out, I wouldn't consider it a great tragedy. That's a defect in my spiritual character right now. That's a result of what we went through for, 3 years in the first part of this decade, 2 or 3 years. But anyway, I'm delivering a message. Intention. Okay, so attention. Attention. That's pretty clear, obvious, right? And there's tension in that moment of attention. You're at a point of tension. There's tension there. It can be uncomfortable. And so there's all kinds of different objects of attention to take away that discomfort. You see how it works? It's not hard. Okay. Intention. Intention etymology. Just put in together with tension. Purpose. It brings in the idea of aim, purpose, telos. Stretching through and beyond the point of attention into manifestation. Now, again, this is where we get into things like magic and sorcery, which are real. I live in a country where there are actual sorcerers, and you don't fuck with them. I have a nephew that he and his friends not too long ago went fucking around a sorcerer's house, and he ended up having to go see a shrink. And he and his family know what he did to bring it about. So, so now I'm going to get to the point. There are a relatively few human beings on this planet who have a great purity in them, a great purity in the quality of their attention, extreme purity in the quality of their attention. They also have extreme purity in the quality of their intention. And they also have unusual reach in the efficacy of their intention. Now, here's the sticking point. I'll boil it down this way. Thy will be done, not mine. Thy will be done, not mine. If you think about this carefully, this is not what's the word? Sometimes I have to look up words. I'm still recovering from alcohol abuse. What is the word? Abnegate? Abnegate. Deny oneself, restrain, deny or renounce, surrender. Okay, I think I can use that. This is not an abnegation of will or responsibility. Thy will be done, not mine. So, this is a path of devotion. If you're one of these few people of exceptionally pure attention and intention at the point of attention and then beyond the point of attention, if you are one of these few people, chances are you experience extreme discomfort in the culture that we're living in. And chances are you've been diagnosed with mental problems and other things. And chances are you've survived some things. chances are you know better than to be casting spells and using that purity and reach of attention for things like personal gain. And chances are you can understand the idea of simply being a conductor of divine will. Okay, there I said it. Yeah. And like everything else, everybody has this conductivity to some extent. But there are different grades of conductivity. There are alloys that are a lot more mixed, and there are alloys that are a lot more pure. It's extremely painful. It can be extremely painful if you're a superconductor. I know. But we are, and again, it's astonishing how many people are walking around still unaware of the shit that we're in. We are deep, 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 deep in the shit. We're so deep in the shit that if most people were suddenly and brutally made aware of it, and they might soon be suddenly and brutally made aware of it, and there are many of them who will not have the capacity to process it, and they will go insane. I saw it happen in 9/11. I was there that day in New York City. I saw men in three-piece suits with, I saw men and women wearing probably tens of thousands of dollars worth of shit. How can I even put it? Running around like apes on Fifth Avenue. Lost their fucking minds. I saw it. But people are still feeling it, and they're acting out on it more and more in unconscious ways. And if you're a person of exceptionally pure attention and intention, your target big old target. So, situational awareness. Touch the grass, marvel at the spiders. Pay attention to the thoughts. Observe them. Don't get absorbed in them. Don't get lost in them. Observe them the same way that you would observe the weather from sitting on the top of a hill, watching the clouds come and go, watching the birds come and go. Don't get lost in them. And maybe it's time to think about putting down labels that have been imposed upon you. Situational awareness. We're in the fucking shit. It's about to get, it's going to get a lot more intense. If you're one of these people of exceptionally pure attention and intention, you're loved. And assistance is always at hand. I'm speaking somewhat figuratively, but the guardian angels are always there. But there are sometimes things that you might, just little things that might want to make them want to keep their distance a little bit. So that's another reason why I just finally had to put away the alcohol, because I need all the help I can get. I need all the protection I can get. I've been through things that I haven't even alluded to here, nor will I. So, what do? When that three-ring circus gets started in your head, just be a spectator. Don't get involved. See it for the circus that it is. Wait for it to die down. Every show comes to an end. The performers get tired. The animals need to be fed. They pull up the stakes. They pull down the tent. Night falls. The crickets and the spiders come out. And then, when everything else is stripped away, what is your birthright? What do you have? What do you have? What's the one thing that you have these motherfuckers can't take away from you if you don't want them to? The quality of your attention. But it's each person's choice. This is why going on YouTube and dicking around and even bothering myself with things like how to get the fucking algorithm to get my videos out there is something that I just I despise it. It's purely out of service. And the only thing that I get out of it is possibly I make a friend or two along the way, and that's it. But if I don't even get that, then so be it. But and I've got to. I struggle with this, man, because there's so much going on out there, and so much of it is horrifying, infuriating. How do you look away from it? What happens when you shut it all off? Even the urge, even the tune that comes into your head, and the urge to sit down and figure it out on the fretboard or the keyboard, and the urge to go put it down on a scratch track, even that, put it all down. Everything, and just sit there with the one birthright that you have. As far as I can tell, it can only be destroyed through, it can be destroyed. Things like lobotomies, surgical, chemical, or otherwise. I'm lucky to be here. I'm lucky to be alive and running around and free to make this video. I shouldn't be here, but I am. What are you left with? If you're a superconductor and you bring it down to the pure, unalloyed quality of your attention, and then you bring to bear the quality of your intention with the mind of thy will be done, not mine. But I'll be a conductor. Now, why are there conductors? Why this conducting? I don't pretend to have all this figured out, but I do know that people are conductors of fate. People are conductors of the forces that manifest fate. Let's put it that way. Not just by shifting atoms around in the materium. It's just a part of it. Okay. Sitting with unalloyed attention and allowing unalloyed intention to flow. Can be painful and scary because it has qualia. It feels like something. It's not boredom. And so, if you're this kind of person, you're going to have some idea what I'm talking about. This is why I drank it away for so long. There's a tremendous amount of power in it. It's not my power either. I use this analogy to describe it at its most, the intensity ebbs and flows according to larger circumstances. At its most extreme, I've used the analogy of feeling like a bathtub drain that has been opened at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. And the crushing weight of all that water is all trying to get through that drain at once. And finally, I feel so goddamn pretentious, but I guess I just had to do this, and Shakti. Look into Shakti. I think it's the best. I think it's a concept that is useful, and I think that it's it has accurate descriptive power. Read about Shakti. It's good to have a name for things sometimes. It can take something somewhat frightening and make it familiar. So, if you're a superconductor, conduct Shakti. Just let it flow through you. That's all. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything else. There's no ritual. There's no mantra. There's nothing. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to do but just get out of the way and let it flow. And learn to practice if it's painful, learn to deal with it, and it becomes less painful over time. All right, that's enough. That's intention at the point of attention. And anyone who listened to this and found it interesting or applicable to their own observations and or experience is free to contact me to talk about it. Because there are a lot of superconductors out there that are, and it sounds like such a, I'm only using that word not as it sounds grandiose. It's not. It's just descriptive. And there are a lot of superconductors in this world. Untold millions. Many of them suffering unnecessarily and unjustly. Okay, that's it. Now I'm going to go conclude my birthday and jump in the shower and try not to think about the fact that I made this video, and try not to this again. This is the last time. This is the final transmission. At some point, we're getting to the point where it's pretty much like every man for himself. That's not the right term. Either you figured this out or you haven't. And if you, this is war. This is war, and unfortunately, war has casualties. That's just the way of things. And on this plane of this human realm. So I'm just going to leave this here. And then tomorrow I guess I'll go back to remastering century-old public domain songs. Over and out.